Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
We've got some fascinating stuff to unpack today. You know, you sent us these articles about post-scarcity economics.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, it's mind-boggling.
It is.
This concept of a future where things like food and housing, even robots,
Right.
are so abundant that their cost plummets to practically zero.
Like almost nothing.
It's wild. So we're going to dive into all of this, explore what this future might look like, where scarcity might become a thing of the past.
A relic of the past. Yeah. Like it's a really thought-provoking idea.
It is.
And while it might sound like science fiction,
It really does.
there are early signs, of this transformation kind of happening right now.
Interesting.
The core idea is that with these advancements, like in automation, nanotechnology,
Right.
and maybe even fusion power.
We were talking about fusion power before the show.
Yeah, exactly. We could reach a point where, like, producing goods becomes
Yeah.
so cheap and so efficient that the traditional economic models built on scarcity,
Right.
they just don't apply anymore.
So before we get ahead of ourselves
Yeah.
and leap into this world of abundance,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we should take a step back
All right.
and just define what we even mean by scarcity.
That's a great point. Like, what is scarcity? When
Right.
we talk about scarcity in economics,
Economics 101.
yeah, exactly. We're
Yeah.
talking about that gap between, like, our unlimited wants and desires, right?
Right.
And the limited resources that are actually available to satisfy those.
So there's only so much to go around.
Exactly.
It's the fundamental problem that has shaped economic systems.
Since, like, forever, for centuries.
Centuries.
Whether it's, centrally planned economy or
Yeah.
a free market, the core issue is the same.
It all comes back to that.
How do you allocate
Yeah.
these limited resources?
Right. Connor Kendall,
Yes.
whose work we were looking at, really dives into this. He starts off by kind of getting back to basics with economics.
Yeah.
Like, it's all about stuff.
Stuff, yeah.
And who gets it,
Right. Right.
He highlights how, humans, we've always needed things.
Mhm.
Food, shelter, security, the essentials to survive.
The basics, yeah.
The basics. And as societies, became more complex,
They get more sophisticated.
yeah. So did our needs
Okay.
and desires.
Mhm.
We went from basic necessities to wanting art,
Right.
entertainment.
Technology, the latest gadgets.
Exactly. So the list just keeps growing.
It keeps expanding.
But there's a finite amount of resources to make all of this stuff.
Right. And that's where capitalism comes in, right?
Right.
Kendall acknowledges that capitalism,
Which we know has its problems.
it has its flaws, definitely.
It has its flaws, but
But it's been this, like, powerful engine
it has.
for generating wealth
Yeah,
and
yeah.
driving these technological advancements.
We've seen incredible things happen.
Incredible.
Because of capitalism.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But he also raises this, like, crucial questions,
Yeah.
like, at what cost, right?
But what cost?
Yeah.
He's not afraid to point out the downsides.
No, he doesn't shy away from that at all.
He really doesn't.
He talks about the inequalities, right? The wealth inequality that comes with it.
Yeah.
He even questions,
Yeah.
can a system built on competition
Right.
truly provide for everyone?
Like, truly provide for everyone.
Yeah, in a way that's sustainable long term.
That's the key, right?
That's the key.
Because if we're envisioning this future of abundance,
Mm-hmm.
it has to benefit everyone.
It has to, yeah. It can't just be for the select few.
Absolutely. And this is where automation comes in.
Yes.
Kendall really highlights this as a key to unlocking this post-scarcity future.
It's a big one, right?
It is. So imagine, factories operating 24/7, no workers, no human workers,
Just churning things out.
churning out everything from cars to washing machines.
Yeah. And the cost is basically nothing.
It's a wild thought.
It is.
We see automation happening all around us,
It's everywhere.
but on a scale like this,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to grasp.
It's hard to even imagine.
Yeah. So let's say it is possible, right?
Okay. Let's assume.
What happens?
Well, the implications are huge.
Yeah.
Because if robots become, smarter,
Yeah.
more adaptable,
More versatile.
and even,
Affordable.
affordable for smaller businesses, right?
Right.
That cost of manufacturing could just plummet.
It could just completely bottom out.
It could.
Yeah.
And that could lead to, an abundance of goods.
So potentially everyone has access to everything.
Potentially.
Okay, so we're in this world
Yeah.
where factories are churning out products for almost no cost.
Yeah.
And potentially everyone has access to them.
Right.
But what about the everyday stuff, right? Like the clothes,
Yeah.
electronics, household items.
day things.
Yeah, where does all that fit in? I'm not quite ready to live in a world where everyone's wearing like the same jumpsuit.
Oh, no.
You know.
That's where things get even more interesting, right?
Okay.
Because Kendall brings in this idea of 3D printers.
Okay.
He calls them, like, robots in disguise.
Robots in disguise.
Yeah, he really does.
I love it.
And he envisions this future where, like, every home has a 3D printer.
Wow.
And it can make pretty much anything you need.
Anything.
Clothes, electronics, tools, anything. Like, on demand.
Personalized.
Totally personalized, yeah.
So instead of relying on factories or big companies,
Right.
we become our own manufacturers.
Exactly. It's this decentralized approach to manufacturing.
Okay.
And it could, like, really disrupt these
Okay.
traditional systems.
Locally.
It shifts the power away from, like, the big corporations
Right.
and empowers individuals
It's amazing.
to make what they need and want.
It would be fascinating to see how those existing power structures
Yeah.
would react to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It raises so many questions
So many questions.
about how we navigate these transitions.
Right.
But Kendall doesn't stop there.
He doesn't.
He goes even deeper
Okay.
into the realm of possibility with nanotechnology.
Ah, yes. The tiny robots that could change everything.
Microscopic robots.
But how would that play out in a post-scarcity world?
Yeah.
Like, I know they're tiny.
Yeah.
They can manipulate matter.
On an atomic level.
Yeah. But give me an example.
Sure. Imagine nanobots
Okay.
assembling, let's say, a smartphone,
Okay.
piece by piece,
Yeah.
from individual atoms.
Wow.
It's like building with Legos,
Right.
but on a molecular scale.
So instead of mining for all these rare earth minerals and assembling phones in these giant factories,
Yeah.
we could essentially create them from scratch.
Yeah, like atom by atom.
Atom by atom, using nanobots.
That's the idea.
That's incredible.
And because we're working at such a fundamental level, right,
Yeah.
we could create materials that are way better.
Stronger?
Yeah, stronger.
Lighter,
more durable, eco-friendly.
Yeah.
Essentially, you bypass all those limitations.
At traditional manufacturing.
Exactly.
Okay, this is starting to sound like magic.
A little bit, right?
Self-replicating factories.
Yeah.
Robots in disguise in our homes.
Mm-hmm.
Nanobots building things atom by atom.
It's a wild world.
It's a lot. But there's got to be a catch, right?
Wow.
Even with all this technology,
Yeah.
don't we still need energy
We do. Energy is key.
to power it all?
Absolutely. And it has to come from somewhere.
Right, in a way that's sustainable and
Yeah.
doesn't destroy the planet.
Right. Kendall explores a bunch of possibilities, right,
Yeah.
for powering this future.
Like what?
Renewables like solar,
Yeah.
wind,
Mm-hmm.
geothermal.
Okay, all good stuff.
Yeah.
But what
But
about
he also dives into
fusion?
fusion power,
The holy grail.
the holy grail of clean energy.
The fusion power. Limitless clean energy.
It's been the dream for so long.
It has. But it always seems to be just out of reach.
Just over the horizon.
Do you think it's a realistic possibility for this post-scarcity world?
It's definitely still early days, for fusion.
Yeah.
But there have been some big breakthroughs recently.
There have.
And if we crack the code,
Mm-hmm.
if we make it commercially viable, it would be a total game changer.
It would.
Limitless clean energy.
Wow.
It would remove one of the biggest roadblocks.
To achieving post-scarcity.
Exactly. But even if we don't get fusion, right,
Right.
there's still so much potential.
In other forms of energy generation.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got the energy, abundant energy.
Yeah.
We've got robots making things for next to nothing.
It's a crazy thought.
And nanobots rearranging atoms to make even more amazing stuff.
Yeah.
It's a world overflowing with things.
It sounds pretty good so far.
It does. But what about waste?
Oh, that's a good question.
If we're constantly producing and consuming,
Mm-hmm.
won't we just drown in garbage?
Well, this is where Kendall's vision gets really interesting.
Okay.
He imagines a future where recycling is taken to a whole new level.
Okay. How?
Picture nanobots
Thank you.
breaking down products
Mm-hmm.
back into their base materials.
So we're not just recycling, we're deconstructing.
It's like deconstructing.
And reconstructing
Yeah.
matter at will.
At will, like a cosmic Lego set.
That is wild.
It is.
But it also sounds incredibly efficient.
It is super efficient.
If we could close the loop on material consumption like that,
Yeah,
it would fundamentally change how we interact with the environment.
absolutely. It would change everything.
Okay, so let's say we've figured this all out.
Okay.
We've got the energy, the technology, the recycling, and we've created this world of abundance.
Well,
Here's the question that I keep coming back to.
yeah.
What do people do in this world?
What do they do all day?
Where work as we know it is no longer a necessity.
That is the question, isn't it?
If our basic needs are met and robots are doing most of the work, what happens to work?
Right. What's the point?
Do we all just sit around and watch 3D printers all day?
Well, Kendall actually predicts something kind of amazing.
What's that?
He predicts an explosion of creativity.
What do you mean by that?
Well, he thinks that once that burden of survival is lifted,
Okay.
people are going to be free to chase their passions.
Like what kind of passions?
Art, music, exploration, scientific discovery, you name it.
So instead of working to survive,
Right.
we'd be living to create,
Yeah.
to explore.
To connect with each other.
To connect.
In ways.
But wouldn't we just end up with a world full of like starving artists and musicians?
Right.
Passion is great,
Yeah.
but it doesn't always pay the bills,
That's true.
even in a world of abundance.
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
Right.
And it really makes us rethink, the
Yeah.
whole nature of work and purpose.
So instead of focusing on material wealth, economic productivity as measures of success,
As what makes a good life?
Yeah.
What makes a good life?
we might start to prioritize
Yeah.
creativity, personal growth, community contribution,
Overall well-being.
well-being. Yeah, that's a pretty radical shift in perspective.
It is. It's huge. It makes us rethink, like,
Everything.
how we structure
our lives, our societies.
our values.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Pretty mind-blowing.
So we've gone from Scarcity 101
Right.
to robots in disguise to a world where people are free to pursue their passions
Yeah.
without the constraints of traditional work.
It's a big jump.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
But I think we've laid a good foundation for understanding Kendall's vision
Yeah, I think so.
of this post-scarcity world.
Definitely.
But do you think he's right?
Is he right?
Is this shift towards post-scarcity
Yeah.
inevitable?
Well, it's a fascinating question.
It is.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's inevitable,
Okay.
but I do think it's a real possibility.
Okay, so not inevitable.
Not inevitable,
but possible.
but possible.
But even if it is possible,
Yeah.
it's not going to happen overnight.
No, it's a huge shift.
It's a massive societal transformation.
It's not just like flipping a switch.
It's not like we just tweak a few things.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin?
That's the question.
I mean, we've talked about technology,
Yeah.
energy, but what about the human element?
Right, that's the big one.
How do we prepare ourselves,
Yeah.
our institutions, our values for such a profound shift?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is.
And I think the first step
Yeah.
is just to start talking about it,
Yeah.
to recognize the potential and start thinking critically about the steps we need to take.
Exactly. And that's what we're doing right now,
That's what we're doing.
right here on this deep dive.
Exactly.
So for you listening,
Yeah.
have you ever considered what life might be like in a world where money is no longer the primary driver
Like a big one.
of our action?
Of our decisions, yeah.
What excites you about this post-scarcity world?
The possibilities.
What concerns do you have?
There are a lot.
This is a future that we're shaping together.
We're all in this together.
Your insights are valuable.
Absolutely. Everyone's perspective matters.
Beautifully said. That's a great place to pause.
Okay.
Don't worry, we're just getting started.
This is just the beginning.
When we come back, we'll be delving into some of those potential challenges and implications of a post-scarcity world.
It's going to be interesting.
It is. All right, so before we kind of went on a little tangent, we were painting this pretty optimistic picture of what this post-scarcity future could look like.
It's exciting stuff.
It is exciting. A world of abundance, creativity, freedom from, the daily grind.
Freedom from the grind, yeah.
But let's face it, no major societal shift comes without its share of hiccups along the way, right?
Road bumps.
Road bumps, exactly.
There's going to be some bumps in the road.
So let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
And look at some of the potential challenges and complexities.
Yeah, let's get real.
That might come up as we transition to this, brave new world.
Yeah, I think that's a really important part of this conversation.
It is.
To balance the potential benefits with thinking about, what could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
And how do we prevent those things from happening?
Exactly. And I think one of the biggest questions that we need to address is what happens to jobs?
Oh, yeah.
And the economy as we know it.
The economy as we know it.
I mean, if robots are doing most of the work, we're all printing our own stuff at home.
Right.
What happens to the people?
What happens to the people
whose livelihoods depend on those systems?
That's a huge concern.
It is a big one, yeah.
I think one of the biggest potential downsides of like widespread automation is job displacement.
Right.
If robots can do things more efficiently at a lower cost than humans, there's a real risk of significant job losses.
Across all sorts of industries.
Across industries, yeah.
Yeah. It's not hard to imagine, is it?
No, not at all.
Factory workers, truck drivers, even white-collar jobs.
Oh, yeah.
Data entry, customer service.
All of those things.
All of those things could potentially be automated.
Yeah, a lot of people's livelihoods would be affected.
So what are some potential solutions? How do we make sure that people aren't left behind in this shift?
How do we manage it fairly?
How do we manage it fairly?
Well, there are a few ideas out there.
Okay.
One that gets talked about a lot is universal basic income.
Okay, UBI.
UBI, exactly.
So everyone receives...
Everyone gets a payment.
A regular payment.
Regularly.
From the government.
Yeah, regardless of whether they're working or not.
Okay, so like a safety net.
It's a safety net, yeah.
To make sure everyone has enough to live on.
Yeah, even if their job.
Even if their job is displaced by robots.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept.
It is interesting. But I can also see it being pretty controversial.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, who pays for it?
Right.
And wouldn't it discourage people from working?
Yeah, those are valid points.
It would require some pretty big changes.
It would require massive changes.
To our current system.
To our social and economic structures, yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely got its critics.
Yeah. So what are some other potential solutions?
Well, there's also a lot of focus on retraining and reskilling programs.
Okay, so helping people develop...
Yeah, helping people develop the skills.
The skills they need for the jobs of the future.
For the jobs of the future, yeah.
That makes sense to me.
It does.
I mean, if we're moving towards a world where robots are handling those more routine tasks.
The more repetitive tasks.
It would free up humans, right?
It would, yeah.
To focus on jobs that require creativity?
Yeah, critical
thinking, complex problem solving.
The human skills.
Those human skills that robots can't replicate.
Exactly.
At least not yet.
Not yet. Right. And there's this idea that automation could actually create more jobs. Than it destroys, yeah.
Okay, how?
But they'd been in different fields, right?
Right.
And it would require a lot of investment.
In education and training.
In education training, yeah.
To make sure people...
are ready for these new roles.
It makes me wonder how we approach education in general.
Education as a whole.
Yeah. If we're preparing young people for a world...
Right, where things are constantly changing.
Where jobs are constantly evolving, skills are changing rapidly.
Yeah, maybe we need to rethink the whole system.
Maybe we need to ditch that traditional model.
Yeah.
Where you learn a set of skills.
You go to school, you learn a trade.
Right, and then you just go apply those.
Yeah.
For the rest of your life.
For the rest of your life, yeah. It's not really how the world works anymore.
It's not. So maybe we need to shift to a model.
Yeah, what if it was more like...
Of lifelong learning.
Lifelong learning, yeah.
Where people are constantly adapting, upskilling. Upgrading their skills.
Yeah, throughout their careers.
Okay, so we've talked about job displacement, retraining a potential UBI.
Right.
But there's another potential challenge I think we need to consider.
What's that?
What about social unrest?
Oh, yeah.
And inequality?
Right.
I mean, if access to resources and opportunities are radically reshaped.
Totally.
How do we prevent those who are already marginalized from being left behind?
That's a big one. And it's closely tied to what we were just talking about with, like work and income.
Yeah.
If we're not careful, this post-scarcity world can actually make inequality worse.
Instead of better.
Yeah.
It's not hard to imagine a scenario.
It's not.
Where the benefits of abundance are unevenly distributed.
Right, where the wealthy and powerful...
They just use their access to further consolidate their position.
Absolutely. And those without...
are left struggling to keep up.
Yeah.
So what can we do? What would those policies look like?
Well, I think we need to think about things like ensuring equitable access to technology education, implementing strong social safety nets to support people who are struggling.
Right.
And finding ways to redistribute wealth.
Okay.
In a way that promotes more equality.
It sounds like we need some pretty fundamental changes.
We need to rethink things from the ground up, maybe.
To our systems.
Yeah, to our systems, our institutions.
To really navigate this transition effectively.
Absolutely. And it's not just about economic systems.
It's about our values.
It's about our values.
Yeah. Our understanding of what makes it's a fair and just society.
Yeah.
It's a massive undertaking.
It's huge.
But it's also exciting, isn't it?
It is exciting.
To have the opportunity to rethink and reshape society.
In a way that actually benefits everyone.
That's a pretty powerful idea.
It's a powerful idea.
Okay, so we've talked about job displacement, social unrest.
Right.
Inequality.
Inequality, yeah.
Are there any other potential downsides or challenges that we should be aware of?
Well, there's the whole question of even if things are abundant, how do we manage and distribute them?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just because we can make something cheaply doesn't mean there's no limits.
To how much we should consume.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We still have to think about the environment, even in a post-scarcity world.
Take energy, for example.
Energy, yeah.
Even if we've got unlimited clean energy, we can't just use it recklessly.
No. There are still consequences.
You still need to be mindful of how much we're using and what impact that has on the planet.
On the planet, yeah.
It raises these interesting questions about decision-making.
How do we make decisions
when scarcity
isn't the main constraint anymore?
Yeah, is no longer the primary constraint.
Do we let the market decide?
Yeah.
Do we need some kind of centralized planning?
Right.
Or do we come up with something totally new?
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
And speaking of things to think about, there's another potential challenge that's been on my mind.
What's that?
What about the psychological impact?
Oh, interesting.
Of living in a world where material needs
are just taken care of.
Are essentially taken care of.
Yeah. What does that do to us?
Would we lose our sense of purpose?
Purpose, yeah.
Our drive to achieve and create.
It's a big question.
Would we just become complacent, self-indulgent?
Philosophers have been debating this for centuries.
I bet they have.
Some argue that, if we don't have to struggle, we might lose our motivation.
Right. If everything's just handed to you, what's the point of striving for anything?
Exactly. It's like, do we just end up bored?
Yeah.
Listless? With no purpose?
No purpose.
It's a risk, for sure.
Yeah.
But there's another side to that coin.
Okay.
Some people think it would actually free us.
Free us.
Yeah, to pursue our passions.
Okay.
To contribute to society.
In ways we can't even imagine.
In totally new ways, yeah.
Because we're no longer limited by
that need to just survive.
Yeah. So our creativity flourishes.
Our desire to make a difference flourishes.
Okay. I like that.
It's an interesting thought, right?
It is. It's like, how would our values and priorities change?
How would they change? Yeah.
Would we still value material possessions?
If they were so easy to get.
If they were readily available to everyone.
Maybe we'd start to prioritize.
Yeah.
Experiences, relationships, personal growth.
Instead of just accumulating stuff.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting shift.
It's a fundamental shift, yeah.
We're not just talking about technology.
Or economics.
It's
about what it means.
It's about what it means to be human.
In a world where scarcity doesn't define our lives.
Wow.
It's pretty deep stuff.
Okay, so we've looked at some potential challenges.
We've gone deep on the challenge.
Job displacement, social unrest.
Yep.
Resource management,
right.
The psychological impact.
Of
abundance.
It's a lot to process.
It's a lot.
But before we get too bogged down in the potential pitfalls,
right?
I think it's important to remember why we're having this conversation.
I'm about this.
Why are we talking about this?
It's important because the potential benefits are huge.
Huge.
We can't ignore them.
Absolutely not.
What are we talking about?
Eliminating poverty.
Yeah, eliminating poverty.
Providing everyone
with basic necessities. Food, water, shelter.
Yeah, freeing up human potential to create.
To explore, to connect in new ways.
In ways that we haven't even begun to imagine.
It's hard to even fathom.
It's a vision of a future where technology serves humanity.
Yeah.
Not the other way around.
That's the key.
And a future where we have the chance to create a more just, equitable, sustainable world.
Yeah, a better world, basically.
And even though the path to get there might be tricky,
it's going to be complex. There's going to be challenges.
The destination is worth it.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well said.
All right, so we've laid out some of the challenges and reaffirmed the potential.
The potential is huge.
Of this post-scarcity future.
But there's one more thing.
Okay.
I think we need to talk about before we wrap things up.
What's that?
What happens to money?
Money. Yeah.
And markets.
Markets, yeah.
In a world of abundance.
In a world where everything is abundant.
If most things are basically free.
Free, yeah.
What role does money even play?
Right.
Do we just abandon the whole concept of currency?
Do we just get rid of money altogether?
Yeah, and markets.
That's a question that a lot of people have been asking.
I bet. Economists, futurists.
All sorts of thinkers.
And honestly, it's been on my mind too.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Because our entire society
is built around money.
It's built around money exchange.
It's how we measure value.
How we measure value, how we allocate resources.
It's everything.
How we organize our lives.
Yeah.
So to think about a world
where money's irrelevant. It's kind of mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing.
It is.
It's a radical concept.
It is radical. Yeah. But it's worth exploring.
I think so. Let's explore it.
Okay. So money in a post-scarcity world.
Yeah. It's a big one, right?
It's huge.
Like our entire world revolves around this idea of money.
It does. It really does.
We work to earn it.
We spend it.
We spend it to buy the things we need and want.
Right.
And its value just seems so fundamental.
Yeah.
But what happens if we reach this point where most things are essentially free because production costs are so low thanks to all this technology?
Yeah, what happens to the whole system?
Does money just disappear?
Poof.
Gone.
That's a radical idea.
It is a radical idea, yeah.
A world without money.
It's hard to even imagine.
What would that even look like? Like, how would we measure value?
Right.
How would we motivate people?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is.
Like, what would be the driving force?
If it's not money, what is it?
Some thinkers believe that, you know?
Yeah.
We could move beyond a money-based economy.
A world without money. Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around this.
It's a big one, yeah.
Yeah.
What would that look like?
So imagine a world where, like, your basic needs...
Yeah.
Food, housing, healthcare are just provided.
Okay.
And you can use, advanced tech like 3D printers.
Or the robots in disguise.
The robots in disguise, exactly.
Nanofabricators, whatever.
To create a lot of the things you want, right?
Right.
In that world, money as a way of exchanging things starts to become less important.
It does.
It's not so central anymore.
Because if the things we need are just there, and the things we want, we can just create.
Easily.
Yeah. The whole idea of working to get money to buy those things.
It just kind of breaks down.
It falls apart.
It does. What takes its place?
Some argued that our motivations would shift.
Okay, towards what?
Well, think about what drives people today, Yeah. Even people who are already well off. A lot of them are motivated by creating things.
Right, contributing, yeah. Making a difference in the world, yeah.
That's a powerful motivator.
It is.
Okay, I can see that.
Or, maybe they're driven by just learning.
Yeah, curiosity.
A passion for some specific field.
So you're saying that in a world without the need to, earn a living, people would be free to pursue these things.
Pursue their passions.
So work would become more about
passion, purpose,
yeah,
than a paycheck.
Not about the money.
It's a pretty amazing idea.
It is. And it could lead to this, flourishing of creativity.
Okay.
Innovation, social progress. Imagine. Yeah.
Scientists, artists, inventors,
entrepreneurs,
all free to chase their dreams.
Their most ambitious projects.
Without worrying about money.
Without limitations, yeah.
It sounds pretty utopian.
It does sound a bit utopian, doesn't it?
But wouldn't there still be competition?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, people are naturally competitive, right?
People are going to compete.
But for what? If not for money. Well, maybe the nature of competition would change.
Okay.
Instead of competing for resources or wealth, maybe they'd compete for, recognition, influence.
Or the opportunity to make a difference.
Yeah, who can have the biggest positive impact.
So instead of striving to be the richest,
right,
maybe people would strive to be
the most respected,
the most innovative, the most impactful.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a big shift.
It is a big shift.
But let's be real.
Let's be realistic, yeah.
This transition to a post-scarcity world,
it's not going to happen overnight.
It's not like we flip a switch.
No.
And even if we could magically make money disappear,
poof.
poof.
Gone.
There are going to be bumps in the road.
There will be bumps, yeah.
Challenges and disruptions.
It's a huge transformation.
It's a huge transformation.
It would be one of the biggest in human history.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest challenges would be figuring out how to manage and distribute these resources.
Right, even if they are abundant.
Even if they are abundant, fairly.
Fairly, yeah.
I mean, just because we can make something easily and cheaply
doesn't mean we should just,
doesn't mean there's no limits.
No limits, yeah.
But we still have to think about our impact.
On the planet, on each other.
On future generations.
The long-term consequences.
Yeah.
It's a big responsibility.
It is a big responsibility. It makes me wonder, how do we decide?
How do we make these decisions?
Who gets what?
Yeah.
If anyone can print a new phone using nanotech.
Right.
Do we just let people make as many as they want?
Even if it, depletes resources. Creates a ton of waste.
Do
we need some kind of system, even in a world of abundance,
to regulate resource use?
To make sure we're being responsible.
Makes me think about how we even define value in a post-scarcity world.
Yeah, what is valuable?
If material things aren't scarce anymore.
Right, they're not so special anymore.
Do we start to value other things more?
Like what?
Experiences. Knowledge. Relationships.
Connection,
yeah. Or even time itself.
Time.
It's a big question, right?
It's a huge question.
With no easy answers.
And it's one that, as a society, we're going to have to figure out.
We are. It's a conversation that we need to have.
It's a conversation that needs to happen.
Because how we answer that question will determine what kind of world we create.
It will shape our future.
This whole deep dive, it's really challenged me.
Me too.
To think differently about the future.
To think outside the box. About our relationship with technology.
Yeah.
What really matters.
It's a lot to process.
It's a lot.
And I'm sure our listeners are feeling the same way.
Yeah, definitely.
So as we wrap up this exploration of post-scarcity economics, I want to leave you with a few questions to ponder.
Okay, I like that.
So what excites you most about the possibilities?
The possibilities,
of this post-scarcity world? What are you most concerned about?
What are your hopes and fears?
And what role do you think you might play?
Yeah. What role do you play?
In shaping this future. This isn't just some abstract idea.
It's not just theory.
It's a conversation that will shape the real world.
For generations to come.
So let's keep thinking, keep talking.
Keep pushing the boundaries.
And keep pushing the boundaries.
Of what's possible.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.